Yes, everybody. Happy Easter Sunday.
Easter. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter indeed. Happy Easter indeed. Would have been happier if we got 3 points yesterday.
Oh my God,
Obviously.
man. What a crazy emotional game, whether you were at it, whether you were watching it on a telly. Just that game was just an emotional roller coaster. That summed up West Ham down to a T, that game yesterday, didn't it? Wow.
It certainly did. And obviously emotions off the pitch as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the point of what we're going to talk about today. Is obviously we put that video was put up on the chat as a short, not as a main video, as a short, just because we thought it was worth letting people know. And there's been a lot of what's the word exaggeration of what happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sort of pre and sort of in terms of what led up to that, in terms of obviously it's only a 15-20 second clip really, and it's gone it's gone mental. We just listened to it on Sky Sports and talking about it and stuff, which is mental. But what we thought we'd do is just talk a bit more. Obviously, Anton was there, and about what actually happened, because that 19-second clip is just a 19-second clip, or if you take a screenshot of him putting the middle finger up or whatever, that you can read into it a lot. So what we thought is go into it, go and talk about the truth, talk about how we both feel personally about it, because there does seem to be a split in the fan base in terms of reaction, and where we go from here, really, I think, in terms of what's next.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, Russ, I am the biggest supporter of every single player that comes through our club. Like, I really am, genuinely am. I give the benefit of the doubt all the time, and I'll support them to the guns, and I'll even support Kalvin Phillips as long as he or something is done about what happened. But I will support them, because I'm not made from that cloth to abuse. And in that video, when you hear a comment, that comment actually wasn't even from me, for example, but I will support. I come from that cloth. I always want to help and be helpful. But there's many reasons as to why we posted the video. But equally, though, the game itself is a big talking point, possibly even more than that incident in itself.
Definitely. I mean, let's just go back to that. We'll work backwards. We'll talk about the Kalvin Phillips thing, because that's what everyone's talking about at the moment, and then we'll maybe talk about and touch on the game in a lot more detail afterwards. Yeah. So you go for it in terms of what happened.
Right. So I mean, there's not too much in it, but what people need to realize is that obviously if something's posted, then people can take their own version of that and exaggerate it, I suppose you could say. And it's as simple as this, right? I've got 3 young kids with me who want to meet the players. So I'm going to stand and try and meet the players. The players have been nothing but more respectful to me and my family personally than I've ever could have imagined. Now, listen, I would love it if they would be even more, especially after a game. And, memories of going to St. James's Park. They've obviously moved the barriers away from the bus, a little bit further away from the bus, and they've obviously got some situation where they must say to the players, "Don't go near the fans, don't go and sign the stuff." And very rarely, I think some of the players break that rule. Lucas Fabianski, for example, broke the rule, came forward, signed a couple of people's things. Vladimir Sufal, I think Pakata done it further up on the other side of the bus. But essentially, Kalvin Phillips came out very quickly. He was the first player out, first person onto the bus, and we can see them the minute they leave the stadium to the minute they enter the bus, so you don't hear anything. Now, every single person was really respectful. There was loads of people shouting to either come over and sign something or to get a picture, which is what my nephew and my son and my other nephew were shouting, picture. That's what they were desperate for. They didn't have anything to sign. They just wanted a picture. Just as Kalvin was about to get on the bus, one guy only shouted, "Useless." Nobody shouted, "Get out." Yet. Nobody shouted, "Get out." He shouted, "Useless." So, do I think Phillips has received abuse over his career? Yes. Do I think he's got abuse online? Yes. I've listened to Dean Ashton's take on it, and I kind of agree with Dean Ashton's take on it. We're in this game, and we understand the nature of the game, and we understand that the fans travel and do all this and do all that. And Kalvin Phillips has reacted the way he has. you can actually hear my nephew turn around and go, the middle finger.
Yeah.
Like an utter shock. And my nephew's like 11, right? So I'm not trying to say that he should be, but he, the modern world, he's aware of what the thing is, of what that means. But then on the back of that, people then start to shout, get out, get out, get out. On the back of that. So they're reacting. So Phillips has reacted to the word useless. And then some of the fans have reacted to Phillips's gesture back to the fans. But what really transpired with me was that on my drive on the way home, it was totally taken over by the middle finger. That's all that was spoken about. I was there with a 8-year-old, 10-year-old, and an 11-year-old, and that's all the conversation was about. And I tried my best to take the conversation away from it, but I couldn't. And it really got me thinking about idolizing role models, players who are respected. Yes, fully understand, fully understand. They're human. They make mistakes, and I'm all like, you make a mistake, absolutely, come out and address it, and we move on. So there shouldn't be this whole kind of, it's not like jumping. I've had a couple of messages going, what a scoop, what a scoop. I don't care about the scoop. It's not about the scoop. We could be sitting there and going, we've not promoted it. We could have gone to all these newspapers and say, you're not crediting us. I don't care about that. It's just about making sure the story's correct. And the story was as simple as this. Only one form, if you classify the word useless as a form of abuse, then so be it. That's your choice. But that's the only word we could all hear in there. He jumps onto the bus, reacts, and then he gets, get out of my club, get out, get out, get out. And that's it. That's done. But then it was a topic of conversation for the rest of the afternoon while we were waiting for other players to come out. So frustrating from that behalf, but I listen, it wasn't me abusing him. I certainly wouldn't do that. I'm still not abusing him. I certainly wouldn't do that. But I will back him if he comes out and just apologizes to the people, especially to the kids. It's not even like apologizing to it's just to the fans, because nobody wants to see that. You love your club, you live and breathe for your club, you know, you travel, you spend all your money, and I'm not, listen, I've done it over the years. I haven't done it much this season, but that's because I've got younger kids and a family and I'm traveling further apart. But we did do it yesterday, and that's not what they want to see. And again, I've woke up this morning and Freddie's asking me again, the gesture. He doesn't say the word gesture. He says the middle finger, the middle finger. It makes for awkward conversations. They're the idols. They're the idols. But people can forgive and forget. And I've said to you, Russ, you've got an opportunity now to turn this around. He's actually got the club and him have got a real opportunity to turn around and go, do you know what? I made a mistake. Do you know what? We were down. Absolutely, you were down. So were we. Everyone was down. Everyone was down. Everyone was down and out and flabbergasted, like head collapsing into their hands and stuff like that. Like, honestly, it was like that. The emotional roller coaster was outrageous. I don't think it should have been a penalty. I don't understand the rules of football, so I don't know who actually knows what the rules of football are anymore, to be honest. I've seen some people say, yeah, it wasn't, and I've seen a lot of people say, no, it wasn't. So I don't know. But yeah, he didn't have a good game. No, he's not had a good start to his West Ham career. But just come out, address the situation, and we can move on. I genuinely don't believe there was abuse after the game that I saw or heard. Whether or not he's received abuse online, I don't agree with. I absolutely don't agree with. And that's coming from him gesturing, not to me, not to my kids, to somebody else. But I don't agree with it. Even though he's made the mistake, he's human after all. That's it. That's it in a nutshell.
It is just true, and I think it's, you're right. I mean, it opens up the conversation. You know, we spoke about it. We spoke about it at length, really, you and me and Holly, haven't we, in the last sort of like day, is in terms of players. I mean, even in the chat now, there's people saying, oh, you know, you should never play for us again. Other ones saying, you know, we shouldn't berate players. And, you know, everyone has a right as an opinion in terms of talking to players, not even talking to players, but, you know, that's what we do after the game. After the game, we sit here and critique the players or critique the manager. It does open up another debate in terms of the role of footballers as role models, and it's not just yesterday, but the way they talk to the referees, the way they berate, the way they shout at each other, the way they push each other. You know, kids pick up on this thing. I mean, you could look at blinking Kudus trying to get the chair off the bloke of the ball boy, the Newcastle ball boy yesterday, and you know, that's, you know, maybe people would say that was harassment of the kid, you know, but it's an opportunity for Kalvin to do something good, I think. Definitely, as you said, to come out and say, look, at the end of the day, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done it. You know, we were pissed off. We just lost. And now I'm going to fight. We've got 9 Premier League games left, or whatever it is, 8 Premier League. I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight for it. Yeah. We've seen you. I mean, we were talking about it this morning. Personally, we've seen the likes of David Beckham get absolutely abused in that 1990, that first game back after the World Cup. We've seen.
But stay on that topic there for 1 second, Russ, because we were talking about it. Like, I was in the crowd. I was beside the players coming out when David Beckham walked out that occasion. So that's going back to 1998. So I was 15. I was probably 14 actually. So I was with my mum at the time, and it was really rowdy. And David Beckham was being abused. There is no question about it.
No,
he was absolutely being abused. There was a difference. He didn't react though, but there was a difference. There was a difference to what Kalvin Phillips received in comparison to what David Beckham received. But I will always stand on the side of the benefit of the doubt, give the player the benefit of the doubt. I don't agree with some of the opinions I've seen, which is he shouldn't receive abuse. Nobody should receive abuse. Nobody should receive abuse. Yeah. But as Toby said, it's a valid point. I have to deal with Arsenal customers. Every grown-up deals with Arsenals. You don't act like that in front of other people's kids. And that's a valid point. Like, it's a massive valid point. And that's, I think when we sat on it, I think it's Holly coming in as well.
Yeah.
Hi, Holly. And I think we were saying, like, when I sent the video to you guys, it was like, listen, this is what I've saw. We've taken our time on it. Like, do we post it? Do we not? And it's like, if we wanted to, if we were just all about that world, like, it would have been out there instantly, and we'd be driving it. But in actual fact, what I've realized is the media is just a dog-eat-dog world, isn't it? It's just a horrible world, and the context of people getting the story right has to be the correct thing, I suppose. So.
Definitely, and I think it puts more context on it because, you know, it puts more context on the thing that, in terms of the abuse, I mean, as Toby said, it was one bloke shouting useless. That's what he reacted at. But as I said to you today, you know, you come home you've had a shit day at work. You come home and Freddie might knock over a glass of water or flows, or something's fallen down which flows it, and that's all you need to react. That's all you need. And so, you know, it was disproportionate in terms of what was said, in terms of the reaction. So you don't know what was happened. They could have had a mass. Moyes could have given them the hairdryer treatment after the game, which hopefully he did.
Or maybe they gave Moyes the
or maybe it's just so, you know, it just as that last thing that just took it. It seems insignificant, someone calling someone useless. But as I said to you, if I put my middle finger up at people in front of customers, in essence, I'd be in a disciplinary.
Yeah,
I would be, wouldn't I?
Yeah. I think that's the main thing as well. The fact that he has reacted is the biggest shame, because you could hear kids that were really excited to get a picture with him or have him sign a shirt. So the fact that obviously what stuck out to him is what sounds like one guy kind of shouting useless, and then has obviously reacted in front of kids, I think is probably where that line's been crossed. But I do also think it is one of those where it could technically be sort of not saved, but he could come back from it by sort of apologising and explaining that he was frustrated because obviously we want these results, and that was a terrible performance, terrible day for him and for the team, and that sort of he wants to do whatever he can to kind of help the team and move forward. Whereas at the moment the situation feels quite sour, and there's a lot of mixed opinions on social media. Some saying you can't come back once you've done something like this, and some saying I'd have done exactly the same. And personally, like, I don't feel that you can give someone abuse without getting it back. But I think the difficulty is, so if I'm calling someone useless, I'd fully expect them to give as good as I've given. But I think when you're in a position where you're a role model, there are kids nearby, you'd hope that would override the emotions that might just come flowing out and make you stick your middle finger up at that one person, because it essentially was at a whole bunch of people, including children.
And I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. It's like, again, we listen, we'd be the most ridiculous human beings if we never turned around and said we've made mistakes. Yeah. We make mistakes every single day, and as does footballers, as do you who are watching the channel, and we recover from it. But it's just unfortunate we live in this world. It's the media world. It's all that sort of stuff, and things are picked up on, and all that sort of stuff. You know, I am part of that West Ham, that fan base that can forgive and forget. Absolutely, because I'm human and I am willing to do that. And do I think what he did was absolutely was wrong? Yes. Is it the end of the world? No. Does it make for difficult conversations sometimes? Yes. But do we get over it? Yes. How? Come out, apologize, do what you need to do that's right, do the right thing. And I think I'm hoping they will. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one, because what doesn't help the matter is that he hasn't played well and hasn't started off well. And it's been topic of conversation, isn't it? It's the main topic of conversation.
It is, and again, it sort of it usually happens. It turns away from what was, a game where we were 3-1 up with how many minutes left and ended up losing 4-3, and it was, and again, you look at match of the day and they don't even question the penalty decisions. So there was so much in that game. It was a mental game, and then it just sort of. It just not sullies it all, because we lost the game, but it just adds further fuel to the fire, doesn't it? Really, it's there's ways you react, there's ways you don't react. He could have, even if he just put his, rather than a middle finger, he just put his hand up, just to acknowledge it, to go, yeah, all right, mate, yeah.
But again, I don't know how you can really, again, we're not living in that moment. There's so many frustrations. This is probably going to sound like I'm sticking up for him, but again, he has made a mistake. It's just come out and deal with it. The unfortunate situation he is in is that someone asked in the chat, what was it like in the stadium? I don't think you needed to be in the stadium to understand what it's like when Kalvin Phillips came on the field, because there's a strong possibility most West Ham fans probably felt the same way. The comments I was hearing from people behind me were like, some guy joked saying, "Oh, I think we'll lose 4-3 now." And but I don't know if he was joking as such, because in his head he was going, it's typical West Ham. And I think there was one of the first potential challenges that Phillips could have made, he didn't, and everyone then got on his back quickly, went, Phillips, and then that was tough to come by. What Phillips really needed was come on and hit the ground running, but he couldn't. And I think his head's gone, and that was the comment.
And I get that totally. Because it'd be funny. He's had a torrid time. He's obviously had Leeds was his club. He got relegated. He got relegated, and then Man City came along. Looked like a good move for him, and then it's been a torrid time at Man City. Injuries, not getting any game time. He comes to West Ham. He thinks it's a chance to resurrect his career, get back into the England squad for the Euros, and it hasn't worked. And it hasn't worked for him. And I think when we had Dean Ashton on, we spoke about maybe Phillips in a bit more, or getting players in loan in January who they need to be able to be hitting the ground running, because you haven't got time. If you got Phillips at the beginning of the summer, and then he had a pre-season under him, might have been a different Kalvin Phillips. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it hasn't worked, and there's 9 games left. The chances are he might play. He might play Freiburg. He might play Spurs. Probably one of them, maybe. And then Alvarez is back, and you probably won't see him in West Ham shirt. Yeah, Leverkusen. Yeah, and then that's it. Then you probably won't see him again. Realistically,
but it's a shame. It is a shame. Sorry, on you go, Holly.
I was just going to say, it obviously hasn't been the start, and I'm sure he's as aware of it as any of the fans are, that it hasn't gone well, and whether he needed more time because he hasn't played much in a while, and his fitness and touch and everything just needs some work. And we obviously haven't got the Phillips that we were all hoping for, but I'm also sure that his start at West Ham hasn't been what he'd hoped it would be either, in terms of how he's been performing and the way that the games have been going when he's had his opportunities. And he has had quite a few opportunities to prove himself, and it feels as though whether it's 2 yellow cards, whether it's giving the ball away, whether it's giving a penalty away, it obviously hasn't gone well, and I'm sure that comes with so many frustrations. But he need to do a lot, I think, to be able to turn the performances around, to get to a point where loan becomes a really good move for us and himself as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are just pointing the finger at the Kalvin Phillips equally, though. But I suppose, it doesn't help the fact that it comes on. It's more, I don't think you can blame. I think the game, what was really interesting was walking back to the car. walking back to the car, and even some of the stewards inside the stadium, we stayed really late. We stayed like literally the last West Ham fans to leave, and the stewards were talking, going, they did hope that Kalvin Phillips would have started the game, but what they were really interested was they couldn't get their head around the fact that they said that Moyes lost us the game. That was coming from loads of Newcastle fans. Loads and loads and loads of Newcastle fans. So it's easy for us to go, it's all on Phillips, it's all on Phillips. But at the end of the day, the decisions are made from that. And when we seen that substitution get made, for me it was odd. For me, it was odd because it was like the only person that looked tired in that whole game was Antonio. So yeah, you're right to bring him off. Just go like for like.
Yeah.
Everything else is working. We're cruising.
Yeah, the tactics were working, so we didn't necessarily need to switch up to be more defensive. And I guess that's where the tactics have cost us. Obviously, you'd hope that whoever you put on in that position is still going to have a good performance. So I guess there's two sides of it in terms of the tactics weren't necessarily the right way to approach it when you're 3-1 up and you're doing so well. So then try and go defensive is the same thing that has cost us so many times. So there's definitely a massive frustration there as well.
Most definitely. And then some people make good points. You know, Phillips isn't the one who puts himself on the pitch. Phillips isn't the one who is not starting instead of JWP. Phillips isn't the one who, he doesn't deliberately come on and gives a penalty away. It just seems to be with him, and it happens with all players. They go for this period of their career where it just doesn't work. Something's not clicking. Antonio, for a long period of his career at West Ham, hasn't clicked. And then he'll go for a purple patch of half a dozen games where it clicks and works. The trouble is, Phillips hasn't got that luxury. He hasn't got that luxury to fall back on that good spell he's had. Bowen, there's been a period this season where Bowen's been very poor. But he can fall back on the fact that he's played well previously to sort of know it's still in the tank. It must be really demoralising for Phillips when he's just hasn't. He knows it. He knows the level he can get to, but because of the lack of game time he had at Man City and stuff like that, just can't get to that. Just can't get to it.
Yeah, and he's got such a limited time to prove himself as well, hasn't he?
Yeah. And I think, to be honest with you, it is what it is. I don't know how long more you can really talk about the situation. Like you said, Russ, it's 19 seconds. He's made a mistake, come out, deal with it. And maybe if you respectfully do something in the right manner to just apologise, then you've got a better chance, and that can be a reset moment. Honestly, that could be a reset moment for the guy, for his mentality, for his. And listen, I'm not qualified in that world, but it's just a reset, I believe, from us looking at West Ham fan base, listening to what the West Ham fan base are saying. Come out, make your apology, and we as a club can then move on from that scenario. But what was really clear though was to get that message out, just to make sure that people weren't going. Because what I will do is stand up for the West Ham fan base. He was not getting abused. He absolutely was not getting abused. I'm not going to turn around here and say, Kalvin Phillips, I can forgive and forget you, whilst West Ham fans are getting crap from media saying we were giving him abuse. He was not getting abuse. Let me please reiterate that. Kalvin Phillips was not getting abuse. He got told he was useless by one fan and one fan only, and he responded, and that's then what made people go, get out, get out, get out. Simple.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, agreed. The truth is out.
Truth is out.
The truth is out.
But in terms of the game, like we can't listen. Like I said at the start, emotional roller coaster. But that has to fall. It has to fall on David Moyes. And Soufal's interview is really key to that whole conversation.
Yeah, same. We sort of set back. We hung back. We was too defensive and stuff like that. No, I totally agree, man. I think it's and the thing is, now you've only got 48 hours ish until 72 until we play Spurs. And that's the thing. We've got and then Wolves again, and we've got Wolves on Saturday. So it is a case of dust yourself off and go again. It really is. And
I suppose that's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem. It's like, as much as you can be in the middle, Moyes in, Moyes out, whatever you want to discuss, it does become really hard to defend when that situation happens. We are literally on cloud cuckoo land. It's absolutely buzzing. The fan base are buzzing. We're looking at each other at home, wherever you were, and looking at each other and going, oh my God, we're winning 3-1 away at Newcastle. you know, little Freddie, man, Freddie genuinely thought that was it. That was it. Like, he was like seeing another West Ham win at St James's Park. He was absolutely buzzing, but he wasn't. 2 seconds. I'll be back to order on my. Okay, I'm still here.
Yeah. Oh well. Oh, everyone's gone. What's everyone gone? Hello. So everyone, you just got rid of everyone, Anton, rather than yourself.
Oh, sorry.
Right. Well, Holly's going on a tunnel, so Holly's gone off somewhere. I've got to go and run my daughter a bath, and Joey will be awake in a minute, won't you, mate? To be honest.
We jump through some comments, though. Should we put some comments?
Yeah, go for some comments quickly. Yeah, go on. Then I've got to go.
Melissa said he should make use of these minutes he's getting here because when he goes back to City, he's returning to the bench. I think that's quite clear, isn't it? It's that Pep Guardiola came out and apologised, and that shows you that sometimes making those moves aren't always the best decision in your career.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Razor West Ham says Phillips is a championship player at best. GP says funny how one is willing to accept Premier League is rigged and you're being ripped off. Yeah, I mean, we haven't even addressed the penalty incident. We haven't even addressed all that stuff, but I don't understand. I genuinely don't. There was 10 minutes of added time in the first half and 8 minutes of injury time in the second half. Now, I think you can accustom maybe 8 of those 18 minutes down to injuries, 10 of those 18 minutes down to VAR.
Yes, mental, isn't it? That's mental, isn't it? So
honestly,
much time for VAR.
Yeah.
It clearly doesn't work. Clearly, and again, there was incidents further on on Saturday where almost identical situations to ones that were given penalties or what, and then there was obviously Dan Burn on Kudus, and the offside for what's the name for Gordon on the first one, and yeah, it was just mental. It was just a mental game. But goals are fun, according to Nigel Carr, bless him. And it wasn't, I mean, for the neutral, absolutely amazing game, wasn't it? Absolutely amazing game. But for us, it was fucking torture. Absolute torture.
But that's very, it's very concerning is when I think there was a fan's tweet must have gone viral when he said as soon as Phillips came on and the decision to be tactically different, and he said, listen, we're going to lose 4-3, and I don't think anyone really actually thought. Well, possibly we did, but that Newcastle defense, like we should, honestly, Dean Ashton sums it up really well. West Ham, when we were winning 3-1, at that moment should have made it 4-1, 5-1. Yeah. Genuinely, because that defense were so leaky and were so problematic, and they could not handle Kudus, and they actually couldn't handle Antonio, which is what makes it really crazy to think that when you bring him off, he needed to come off because his legs were gone, but just put what an opportunity for Danny Ings.
Yeah,
what an opportunity. Yeah, Kudus is putting the ball into the box. Paqueta's putting the ball into the box. Owen's putting the ball into the box. We're attacking your leaky defense. Your defense is having problems. So put a striker who's needing some goals in that box, and you're probably going to get a couple of more chances. And we didn't. And I'm not a tactical genius, but for me, Moyes is taking the blame for this. Has to take the blame for this, and it's as simple as that. Like we were cruising at 3-1.
Yeah.
On the break, we were deadly, and we allowed them. And Harvey Barnes, of all people, someone we tracked, who wasn't even supposed to come on. He only came on because the injured player who came on had to go off.
Yeah.
It was an
afterthought. Came on, I knew what was going to happen as well. You could put money on it that it would have been Harvey Barnes that would ruin our day.
If only they had Harrison Ashby on the bench, they'd have brought him. He'd have probably scored against us as well. Absolutely typical, man. Yeah.
Phillips was not abused. It was constructive feedback. One voice yelled what we were all thinking in that moment. He was useless. Tell me he wasn't. Tufal is the first player to come out and say we're too defensive. The club should take action against Phillips. I think they will. No coincidence. Tufal was shipped to rejects. I mean, he didn't have a great game himself. To be honest, Anthony Gordon terrorised them in that game.
Yeah, and genuine pace. He can't compete with genuine pace.
No.
That's what I was saying the other day. When if we've got an option in the contract to offer him a 1-year deal, and I would just offer him that. Because and then now apparently the club are looking to offer him 2 years on improved contract. I said, what's the 2 years? He's going to be 33. That happened to Zabaleta. He had a period where he was brilliant for us, and then he just fell off a cliff.
But we're about to do it again with Ogbonna, and we're about to do it again with Fabianski. And I love Fabianski.
Okay. I get Fabianski.
Yeah. But and we've got a lot of respect for these guys, but sometimes there's a time and a place.
Yeah, Oggy, I just don't understand.
The time with Oggy was last year, not this year.
Yeah.
Damien wants to do a call-in. I've got. It's Easter Sunday, Damien, mate. We can.
We'll do it. We might do. Why do it tomorrow? Maybe do it tomorrow for lunchtime. We'll do it then, Damien. You can keep all your thoughts going, and we'll do that.
I tell you what happens if we beat Spurs is Moyes then lorded into the master coach again. Confusion reigns.
Probably will.
All over the place.
Probably will beat Spurs.
Yeah, Kalvin Phillips was smashing a 40-yarder.
He'll doing a Bamiyang, not Bamiyang, Obiang, and he'll just give it all the 2 fingers. Oh dear! That might be funny.
Go on. Valid point here. Nobody could cope with Kudus yesterday. Nobody. No. He was frightfully world class.
Well, he was channeling his Samaxaman because he grew his hair out, hasn't he? So he had like the dreads. He looks like the Samaxaman. I had to do a double take first, but it was like on the. It was so. His
hair's grown so quickly. I'm not sure.
Yeah, how does his hair grow so quickly?
Suspicious.
Can someone tell me, please?
Yeah. But we were saying as well, I saw one of the comments a moment ago just talking about kind of where the blame lies, and I think ultimately there's all different areas of blame. You've got the responsibility that the players have to make the right decisions in the moment and play well and put effort in. And I know that there's a lot of video circulating as well with obviously Phillips was walking after he'd lost the ball and things like that, and as West Ham fans we always want to see people just do everything that they can on the pitch and never give up. Then you've got the responsibility on Moyes to make the right decisions of which players to bring on and keep on, to make sure that we've got the players that are willing to give everything, that have the legs and that can perform. And then you've got the responsibility of the board to also make the right decisions and the right calls in terms of who's the manager, which players are you bringing in, where are you putting the money in next transfer window to make sure that we fix the problems that we have. So I really do think it's a combination at the moment of a lot of things that all need working on over the next transfer window and over the next year for us to really step on a level rather than drop down from where we've been, because we've achieved amazing things in the last few seasons, but we've got to make sure that this carries on and that we don't just head back to where we've been before, where you're fighting relegation and making unprofessional mistakes, because we've got everything to fight for here. So we need to fight for it, don't we?
Absolutely, you're 100% right, Ollie. So like I said, it's Easter Sunday. We all thought we'd just come on and address the situation and tell it as it was, and then give our little kind of thoughts on the game. So make sure you do go away and enjoy your Easter Sunday, and we will be back later on and tomorrow with more of your West Ham content on the lead up to the massive game against Spurs midweek. Holly, fingers crossed, Phillips and everyone's okay, and we can get this problem resolved as quick as we possibly can. From us at the West Ham Network,
Happy
much
Easter.
love. Take it easy. Come on, you Irons.
Irons.